more ball, fewer infractions. This begins in 2020. The future is near. More access, more everyone, more everything here.
July 17th, 2019, show number 21.
Begun. This is the XFL.
What is up, my friends? Welcome to another edition of the XFL Week in Review. I am your host, The Mark, and on this week's show, we got a light week on the news. We'll go over Trevor Simeon maybe being the XFL. We'll go over the recap of all that was going on with XFL St. Louis Summer Showcase, plus a little bit more in your social media and everything like that, my friends. What's up? So how do you get in touch with the show? You email podcast@xflnewshub.com with your MP3 or your thoughts, or you can use the Twitter, use the hashtag XFLArmy. Cutoff time is 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays as we record the show. And of course, remember to leave us a review on iTunes and we'll read it on the show. Spread the word out, my friends. Spread the word out. We have our question of the week. What is more important, team names or team logos? We'll get to that later. Also, stay tuned for after the news. We got our next question of the week, and I think you'll like it. I think it's a good one, and it will be funny, and I'll leave it at that for you. So anyway, remember to check out our iPhone app and check out me on Dallas Radio, 1160 AM KBDT Sports Day with John Clemens. That's on Saturdays and Sundays, hanging out there, talking everything XFL. Really kind of controversial this week. All wrestling. XFL News Hub. That's my old site that I used to own. Now it's ProWrestlingNewsHub.com. What? Making some controversy this week. So if you didn't know, you didn't follow us, clearly you do. I put out a little article basically stating my predicting of when the XFL team names announcement is going to happen. As of this recording, it has not happened yet. I think, based on the XFL put out a tweet saying that right around the XFL St. Louis Summer Showcase of what's next, team names and logos, picking up players, signing players, draft. All right. And we've heard coaches, team presidents, they all know what their team name is. We know the 5 in Seattle. So I believe that this week, when you're listening to this, or potentially next week, we should get team names. Why? I had to put a why in there. I have no insider knowledge or anything. Why? Because the NFL season is about to begin and preseason's about to begin. And I've talked with some NFL writers and they've all said that when the NFL preseason starts, everything sort of shifts and there's a lot to cover in the preseason for the NFL. You're talking about players, you're talking about, different schemes and coaches, and there's a lot of content that they can write about during even the preseason before they even play a game. Even rookie camps, there's a lot of content. Right now, there's nothing going on in the sports world. It is dead zone. This is the perfect time to launch the team names to get everybody hyped before they get into the NFL season, which is basically going to start this week and next week. Rookies are coming in. Some teams are having, the rookies kind of come in for some teams, and then the veterans will come in later. This is all happening in the next 2 weeks. So the focus is going to go back to the NFL. Now is the chance to strike. I'm predicting the next week or two. I even put July 16th, and that passed. And that was very bold. We got a lot of traction on that. Got a lot of traction about some of our other things, articles you wrote about the St. Louis Summer Showcase. Got picked up by NBC Sports, MSN, USA Today. Really excited that people are, the mainstream media is now picking up content that we're writing about because we are the number one XFL News Hub. Hands down, I have the data to prove it, is the number one XFL news source by far on the planet, in the earth, in the universe. Maybe there's some aliens. Did you check out that Area 51 documentary on Netflix? Bob Lazar thing? It was interesting. So even the aliens, the number one XFL site for aliens is XFL News Hub. All right, I'm just kidding. Anyway, I just had to get off of my chest. So I put that out. There was an article out, a lot of buzz about it. I'm glad people, left their comments. We're just throwing something out there. I really think that if it doesn't happen, you're going to do it in the middle of August or you can't do it NFL cutdown day. It's just very weird. People are dying for that tribe. Everywhere I go, people are asking, what are the team names? It's like, just drop it. Even if you have one locked in, then just do the one. That's plenty. If you leaked out one every week, that's good too. People are excited for the XFL. The team names will crank it up to the next level. Players will be after that. And then the NFL season will begin. And then XFL will come right after it. So we're excited. So anyway, without further ado, folks, let's just get into the week that was the XFL. We all know in the XFL that quarterback play is critical. With NFL training camps underway, we're definitely taking a close look at players that might get cut. And one of the names that keeps coming up is Trevor Simeon, because he's close to losing the number 2 spot for the New York Jets. According to sources, his competition, Davis Webb, has been showing real improvements during the team's OTAs, and it also looks like Webb earned the number 2 spot, at least according to the last OTA, and that they might keep him over Siemian. And if the Jets are only going to keep 2 quarterbacks, that means Simeon's out. Now, what's his background? Well, he was drafted in 2015. He was a 7th-round pick, 250th overall, and he was the 7th quarterback taken in that draft. But he's got some good experience. Trevor Simeon never got to start his rookie season because he only backed up one of the greatest QBs in the history of the game in Peyton Manning. However, thanks to Manning, Siemian received a championship ring when the Broncos defeated the Panthers in Super Bowl 50. He never saw any gameplay, but he's also a Super Bowl champion, technically. Now, next season, Manning retires. Brock Osweiler is gone to the Texans, and it only seemed fitting that the Broncos put their faith in Siemian after he beat out Mark Sanchez and then rookie Paxton Lynch for the starting role. So now he became the starting quarterback and looked pretty good. He threw 18 touchdown passes that season with 10 interceptions, a couple clump from behind wins, and some game-winning drives. He was ranked 26th that season, tied with people we've heard of, Andy Dalton, and ahead of former Bronco Brock Osweiler by 3 TDs. Now, in his 3rd season, second as a starter, he had a new head coach, had a few good games. However, it was enough, and his career started to kind of go down after that. He finished the season with more interceptions than touchdowns, plus failed to come close to passing yards that he did the previous year by almost 1,000 yards. So really just kind of went downhill. The Broncos gave up on him, traded him to the Vikings with a 7th-round pick, and they received a 5th-round pick, which isn't much, in Minnesota. Siemian was a backup to Kirk Cousins, who was coming off a pretty good year, ranked 13th that year, so figured he wouldn't see any playing time in Minnesota either. That stint only lasted a season. The Vikings released him, and he would later sign a 1-year contract with the Jets in March of 2019. But as we talked about earlier, it looks like he might not be getting that number 2 spot. And if the Jets are only going to keep 2 quarterbacks, he's out. And he's also at that level, that 2015 draft class that was permeating through all of the XFL summer showcases. So, what's the likelihood that we could see Trevor Simeon in the XFL? It's a pretty good chance. Would he wind up in New York? But the chances of him getting cut seems pretty good. He's not going to be a practice squad player. The likely that another team will pick him up at this juncture, after they all have their own depth charts, and he was failed to beat out Davis Webb, makes me think we could see Trevor Simeon as part of the first draft class of the XFL. The XFL Summer Showcase came to a close in St. Louis July 13th. It was the final event of the 8-city tour. Some notable names from this event. One was Trent, the league pushed out there was Trent Richardson and Connor Cook. If you don't know who Trent Richardson was, he was selected 3rd overall by the Cleveland Browns in the 2012 NFL Draft. He was also on my fantasy football team, And I was excited when he got traded during the second season to the Indianapolis Colts, but he was basically a bust after that, and he was out of the NFL by 2015. Did not help my fantasy season at all, but he looked promising as a rookie. Richardson later played with the Birmingham Iron in the AAF before we all know what happened with the AAF. Connor Cook was selected fourth. He was the fourth in the fourth round of the 2016 NFL draft by the Oakland Raiders. He played college ball at Michigan State and holds the record for most career wins at Michigan State. Other guys that you may or may not have heard of, David Cobb was drafted by the Tennessee Titans. He played for the San Antonio Commanders. Jonas Gray played for the New England Patriots when they won Super Bowl in 2014. A lot of buzz about him because he had a huge game where he had and a couple real good games and then just kind of disappeared after that. Zach Mettenberger was drafted by the Titans in the 6th round of the 2014 draft. He also played for the Memphis Express. LaDamian Washington was a wide receiver, played with the Birmingham Iron. Alton Pig Howard was a wide receiver. He was dismissed from University of Tennessee in 2015 for violating team rules. He had a brief stint with the Chicago Bears, trying to make a name for himself and redeem himself in the XFL. Clay Harbor was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles in the 4th round of the 2010 draft. He played for the Jaguars, Patriots, Lions, and New Orleans Saints. He was also part of a season of The Bachelor. My wife would be excited about that. I don't watch The Bachelor or anything. I mentioned the name, and my wife and daughter knew exactly who I was talking about. So if you're a Bachelor fan and also an XFL fan, welcome. That's a very interesting mixture of interests you have right there. Luis Perez, as a QB, was awarded the Harlan Hill Trophy in 2017 as the best football player in the NCAA Division II. He also played for the Birmingham Iron. Love to see guys from Division III, Division II getting a shot at the XFL. I think they could be some real good players in there. Akeem Hunt was a running back, played for the Houston Texans and Kansas City Chiefs. He also played for the Orlando Apollos in the AAF. Steven Johnson was a linebacker. He played for the Steelers and my Baltimore Ravens. Also played for the Arizona Hotshots. And Jaquez Smith is a defensive end. Played with the Buccaneers, Lions, Cardinals, and Raiders. The XFL's vision to reimagine football is clearly underway, and a number of modifications have been made to the game already announced by Oliver Luck. One of the changes that has created a kind of a divided opinion among fans in the XFL's plan is to eliminate the knee down rule with a new clock rule. Tom Basinger of the Tampa Bay Times talked about the kneel down in his article about the differences between the XFL and NFL under the comeback period, is being called. Basinger wrote about the kneel down and Commissioner Luck explanation for its elimination. Quote, in the NFL, the game clock stops with 2 minutes left in the second quarter, 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. After an incomplete pass, when the player runs out of bounds, or when the team calls a timeout. In the XFL, the clock will stop after every play during the final 2 minutes of each half. Think about that. Changes the last 2 minutes, changes strategy, changes prevent defense. So many changes comes to this little tweak to the rule. Quote, we didn't want a team to be able to have 3 downs where they just kneel and burn off a minute 40, Luck said. A knee down as quarterback, I loved it. He played for the Houston Oilers from 1982 to 1986, but it's also a nothing play. He calls the final 2 minutes, quote, the comeback period, close quote, because we should see a bunch of more drives than we're used to. The goal, of course, is not only increase the number of games that are decided in the final minutes, but also hold the audience attention longer, no matter the actual probability of an comeback. After all, late game comebacks are rarer than we think. Over the past 10 seasons, and the NFL teams have had a lead after 3 quarters, went on to win more than 80% of the time. Let me repeat. And in the NFL, teams that had the lead after 3 quarters went on to win more than 80% of the time. So technically, you could just be like, see ya after the 3rd quarter because your team would win. Fans have reacted to the rule change on XFL board, one of our favorite stops, and the XFL universe and yours too. They have been divided among opinions. A user going by the name of Tank55 argued that the rule change is altering one of the football's greatest features and said the XFL is trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. Of course, our man Mike Mitchell on the XFL board is in support of the elimination of the knee down rule, saying, quote, "It's a meaningless play that goes against the competitive nature of games," close quote. According to Mike Mitchell, the rule change will increase offensive plays and keep teams alive in games. So, some of the new XFL new rules will be implemented in test matches to see how they fare, and with the elimination of the knee down rule will undoubtedly be tried out. This will take place at the Summer League in July. I'm sure they'll be testing this out because this is kind of like their final testing spot, using the spring league as their testing ground. So, is the elimination of the knee down rule one of the reimagines of footballs you support? Let us know your opinion in the comments section. Are you down with this, or do you think it's a bad idea? XFL head coach Winston Moss threw down a challenge, but it didn't have anything to do with the football field. Had to do with American food supply and losing some weight. The challenge is that Winston Moss and his staff will lose 30-plus pounds by February 8th, 2020, the opening day of the XFL season. So what happened was American food supply put out a challenge to the XFL, say, "I will challenge your coaching staff to lose as much weight as possible. My firm will donate $2 for every pound lost collectively to your XFL charity of your choice, and I challenge all Southern California firms to match my offer." Winston Moss wrote them back, "Our staff will challenge you and all takers. If we lose 30-plus pounds by February 8th, you will donate $5,000 to an XFL charity for every coach that makes his goal." So basically, every coach needs to lose 30-plus pounds. And if they do, these guys have got to put $5,000 up. So looks like a little challenge going on. Doesn't have anything to do with football. Actually, I've seen some fans on Twitter actually say they're going to get involved too, just for the fun of it. And it looks like everybody's to lose weight. So it could be a lot of money, maybe up to $65,000 that AWAFS would have to pay out if they accept the challenge. They were trying to go cheap with this $2 a pound deal. But Winston Moss threw it down, $5,000 for 30 pounds. So stay tuned. We have a picture on XFL News Hub of what the staff looks like now. And some of them look like they could probably lose a couple pounds. So it could be some fun. So check it out. We'll follow this story later. Clearly, it's a little bit of a slow news time right here in the XFL world. But we'll be back with your social media stuff right after this. Stay tuned. Listen up, XFL News Hub fans. We got something for you. We have an Android app for your phone. That's right. We're excited to announce the launch of this app, and best of all, it is free. So you get all the breaking XFL news and information from XFL News Hub right on your phone. All you have to do is visit the Google Play Store, type in XFL or near the top, or just search for XFL News Hub. That's right. In the Google Play Store, that's all that you need to do. So what do you get with this app? You get the latest news from XFL News Hub, the premier XFL news source in the world, in the universe. You get push notifications when we post a new story. That's optional. You turn that on and off, so you get notifications when breaking news happens. You can leave a comment right from your phone. You don't have to be on the website. You just leave it right on your phone. You can get, of course, this podcast on your phone as easy, and you can leave us a review on the Google Play Store. You can do that too. Plus links to all of our social media accounts. So it's very simple. Just head over to the Google Play Store, type in XFL News Hub, and download your XFL News Hub app for the Android phone today. I remember our question that we'll get into in a little bit. Oh, and you want to know what next week's question is. Before we get into the question this week is, what is more important, team names or team logos? Really thought about this. I was like, I don't really know what's more important. Is it the name or is it the logo? If it's Seattle Surge, but it has a really cool, like, fierce-looking logo, or if it was like, if it was the Seattle Fairies, and all the fans would be like, I'm a fairy, but the fairy was like a total badass with machine guns and swords and everything like that else, kind of changes the way you perceive the team name or your team. Like, what's your team name? The Seattle Fairies. You'd be like, what? But then if you're wearing the Seattle Fairies and it's a dude that's Diesel with a little tutu or something, I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't know what's different, what's better. Team names, team logos. We'll get to your thoughts. But next week's question, I want to hear the creativity of the XFL Army. We'll see how funny you guys are. You put up or shut up. What I want to hear is, give us your funniest XFL team name. So it's got to be a city and then a team name. Give us your funniest ones. We'll get a little shout out on the show, I guess. No prizes or anything like that. We're starting out. We don't have a lot of money. But give us your funniest XFL team names. Got to be good. Like the New York Hitman was a good name. I like that one. But if it's like LA parking lots or something, you know what I mean? Like, come on. We got to get something good. I want to hear how funny you guys are. The XFL army out there. So that's the question for next week. This week, what is more important, team names or logos? But first, let's hit the social media stuff. Travis Sy on the Twitter, we were talking about Manziel. He says XFL Houston will be the only team trying to get Manziel, but June Jones might go another way. Who knows? I'm not convinced that Johnny Manziel will be playing in the XFL. I'm just not feeling it. Based on everything, look, you could have, let's just throw it out right now, just a couple guys that we already know of. Landry Jones, Ryan Mallett, Zach Mettenberger, Trevor Simeon. There's 4 quarterbacks right there. Now there's 4 left. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of space, and there's a lot of guys trying out that could take that spot. I'm not convinced that Mr. Manziel will be probably in it. On to our other thing. We were talking about team names, predicting team names. Travis Sy also said, I would probably say team names are more important. Anything else? About our prediction of the XFL team names announced this week and why we talked about that. He said, David Burnett 2020 says, interesting prediction. I could see that happening. I mean, I wasn't like I was like, hey, this is when the team names are going to happen next week. I have an insider. That's nothing like that. I just posed the question of this is why I think it would make logical sense and then why it could happen. At XFL2TO says, any updates on how they're planning on releasing the names, logos, etc.? Is it going to be alive on Twitter or Facebook or a time, date, anything yet? Nothing. We got nothing. This is XFL2BHAM, their official page, at XFL2. We don't know. Team names, clearly they'll do something on Twitter and Facebook. I've heard that the AAF did that, but we have not heard a releasing or a time yet or date. I just think it's happening. It's got to happen soon before NFL training season starts. At Lexi_Bliss85, we're talking about, will Johnny Manziel be part of the XFL in 2020? It's unclear. Says Vince McMahon will help take care of him even in Dallas or rumored expansion Alabama team. There is no rumored expansion anything. About Coach Pep Hamilton builds teams. That's my guy, America's team. XFL, Washington, D.C., America's team. They had a great little tweet about Pep Hamilton and his vision for helping out the community. Steve 7279349. Very simple name to remember. Awesome, man. XFL doing more than just football. It's awesome. Totally. I'm so excited that Pep Hamilton is our coach and your coach for America's team, the XFL Washington, D.C. And I've said this over and over again. If you have been listening to the show, America's team needs to be in your nation's capital. And if you don't have a team, your team is now the XFL DC. It's not anybody else. We are America's team because we are in the nation's capital. It's that simple. I don't know how complicated. And Dallas, how does Dallas get that? Well, because they have a nice, pretty star. And that's what makes them America's team? Because they announced it in the 70s? It's now XFL DC. At Seth Breeze says, when we were asking a question of the week, team names or logos, he said logos. And that's what made me start thinking about it. Because I was like, I think logos are kind of important. Almost more than the name. If the logo is bad, you have no shot. I mean, look at some of these franchises out there with the logos are terrible. Remember when the Islanders changed it to the Gordon Fisherman and how that just like ruined it and then they had to go back? Remember that? On to the YouTube. Gregory Gaballo says that's awesome to hire a female official. Nothing wrong with that. Chef Paul E. One of the team names is going to be revealed. We talked about that earlier. Chauncey, I think both. Talking about, let's see. I think both are more important. However, logos can miss the mark and leave fans dissatisfied depending on who designs them. I wonder which company will be designing uniforms and logos. I was thinking about that too. Demarius says, in my view, both the selection of the XFL team names and the colors and logos of each team is equally important, and it is exactly why I'm still interested in the supporting of the idea of my city's XFL team here in St. Louis being the St. Louis Knights. Knights don't really have anything, that I feel. Super UK Cats says he found this on some website. I can't remember which one, but he's got the names. He has it right here, and I'm going to give them for you. The Los Angeles Giants, the Seattle Thunder, Houston Titans, Dallas Eagles, St. Louis Cubs, Tampa Bay Yankees, Washington Penguins, and New York Red Sox. Apparently he's got it. He broke the news. Super UK Cats has the scoop. Your New York franchise, the XFL New York team, will be the New York Red Sox. You heard it here first. Breaking news like nobody's business here in the XFL universe. The number one, statistically, it shows it in the data, the premier XFL news site by far. Everybody else is Bush League compared to XFL News Hub. Panther, I'm looking forward to the XFL League. Hopefully my son, Paul Boyett Jr., gets a chance to play with the Houston team. Okay, great. Richard, checking in. I think you're right. They need to tell us their team names and logos before the NFL starts. I need to know. Music, I hope they can at least give the team name plural names. I don't know why, but I've always hated singular name team names like Thunder, Heat, Jazz. Interesting. Because there was some question out there where it was like, name the team names that don't end in S. Thunder, Heat, Jazz. Interesting take on that one. Poor-metaphor says, everybody knows they're waiting to announce Manziel for the publicity closer to the first day. You think they're going to wait all the way till the last minute? And Amador says, go XFL. NFL players are greet. They don't care about the fans, only money rats. So he's excited about the XFL. All right, on to the Instagram with our question. What's more important, team names or team logos? Let's get to it. David Del Conte _3. Team logos, because if the logos are amazing, it would attract more people to the team. I mean, you're going to sell more merch with a good logo. Dave _Dimitri logo. Kyle for real logo. Strong Island superfan. Nice name. Both. We asked you to pick one. You don't go to class and the teacher says true or false and you say both. Pick one, man. You're from my home. If you're my Strong Island, that's where I'm from. You got to pick one, man. Photo by Cecily. Well, you could have a team named the Trojans, then either have the logo as a condom that would represent a defense that's unstoppable, or a logo with a guy in the helmet. That's interesting. You could definitely get some sponsors. Forensic Path Doc. He said logo, go pulling some old USFL photos. That league died because it was ugly. So saying the USFL had some ugly logos and that didn't help them. RB Jr. said names. Shane South, both are important. Chef Flyden says logo. Only hometown fans would be proud to wear ugly gear. That's a good point. Unidad throwing logos. A bunch of others there on our Instagram. Thanks for everybody checking in on Instagram. make some good points. This is why I love just putting out the social media, because they just hit things that I don't even think about. Only hometown fans would be proud to wear ugly gear. And this is your chance to bring in fans and really make something big for the XFL. About Manziel being part of the XFL in 2020, John says, we left the NFL again because of the firm-tarded nonsense. You bleeped up XFL again. Ernesto said, talking about Manziel, he says he can't. The XFL said if you have a police record or if you beat a woman, you can't play in their league. And we went back and forth, and they've asked Oliver Luck about it, and he said Vince McMahon has kind of softened on his stance on that. But I hear what you're saying, guys. I hear what you're saying. We're going to definitely dial back to our Manziel stuff. About Landry Jones and Bob Stoops teaming up. Maybe that'd be your XFL Dallas QB. Bennis says, yeah, why not Landry Jones, but how long and how does he got in the pocket? He's 30 years old and maybe more than 5 to 7 years. And then what? I do respect the fact that Landry Jones joined the XFL, that he'll bring Dallas to something maybe in the playoffs, but maybe XFL for the future. Must look for other QBs, maybe bring some Oklahoma Sooner players in. Team Stoops would love this. Imagine wide receivers from Oklahoma Sooners, but only it's a dream right now. Oh, we talked about that already. Find a team. Mark Sanchez says, I'm down. You know, the one thing about the Landry Jones that made me think about this, and especially the age, too, that was brought up, I think that these guys are more than likely are going to bring in quarterbacks that they have worked with before. Why? Because it's a brand new league. Are you really, if you're Bob Stoops and you want to win, are you really going to try to take a shot at a guy who was a 7th round pick in 2015 that bounced around to a couple leagues that you've never worked with? Or are you going to bring in a guy who you've worked with before? And Landry Jones said that Stoops invited him to come out and practice. So if Landry Jones can play, I think all these guys are going to go with guys that they have worked with and they've had experience for now, and bring in some guys that QBs that they like to build off of. I think you're going to get veteran guys in the 30s, older guys that have been cut, you know, that have played for a couple NFL teams coming up. Like we talked about, Trevor Simeon would be a guy. And there's going to be connections somewhere. You know, whether, you know, for Pep Hamilton, the guy was a backup quarterback and with the Colts under Hamilton, or, you know, those kind of things, or maybe he was a former Michigan guy. Like I have a feeling that that's where the core QBs are going to be. And Johnny Manziel doesn't have any experience with June Jones. Very little, but some. And that might be enough. I think it's Manziel Houston only. Do you think Manziel is going to be a backup to Landry Jones? I don't think so. Talking about eliminating the knee down with the new clock rule, Grant says, so bleeping managing the click like a professional coach, right? Damien says, great idea. I want to see the plays, not wasting time. Jared says, I love it. Didn't even think about it. Genius. Alfonso says, like it. On to our question about team names, logos, etc. Scott says, good football. That's all he cares about. Corey says, I think team names is more important. You can have an amazing logo, but when someone says your team name, the awesome logo would get overshadowed. True, for example. You could have an awesome logo of a catfish, all jacked up, but your name is St. Louis Mud. Yuck. But the unlucky Cleveland Browns have a lackluster name and no logo, so anything could be better than that. True. Benna says, about that's not easy to really choose which one is better. I do actually support team names more than the logos. Of course, every fan wants the XFL to be 100 by 100 on both sides, but for me right now, team names are more important. About the logos, yeah, we would like to see them show both team names and logos with full view, and we want to be happy for both logos and team names, but it is what it is right now. Team names is more important than logos. Dennis, most definitely names. Eric, definitely names. John Turner, a buddy there. Talk about logistics, tiered pay, health insurance, premium ramifications, the correlation of NCAA paying players, the timing of legalized alcohol sales, college games, the potential of division realignment, effects all that will have on the XFL vice versa. Talking about the NFL all of a sudden exploring rule change. As soon as the XFL makes an announcement about the introduction of the rules, how about potential partnerships? These are things I will discuss. Okay. Keith says names on there as well. So, on to the emails. Checking in there. Let me get that. Sam says, when are they going to be announcing the team names? I know a lot of fans want to know. We talked about that ad nauseum in our. I'm hoping in the next week or two. Andrew says, I got something for you guys to keep on asking for a work. I got something for you guys who kept on asking for a workout. These are football leagues that they can join. Oh, gotcha. These guys are asking for a workout. They want to work out for a league. These are football leagues that they can join or try applying for if they truly want to get a chance. Now, this is a good point, Andrew. Potentially is the number one emailer because we get this question all the time. And I'm like, why haven't these guys tried any other leagues? Like, they're like, I've been sitting at home, this is the XFL, and now I want to join the league. It's like, you're not putting in the work other places. So here, these are football leagues that they can join or try applying for if they truly want to get a chance. So the IFL, Indoor Football League, AFL, Area Football League, CBFA, Superliga Nacional de Futebol, Brazilian League, AFL, Australian Football League, CLAF, Czech League of American Football, IFL, Italian Football League, GFL, German Football League. All these leagues except American football players, but there is more, but I don't want you listing all the leagues in the world. The second thing I wanted to tell you is, so back on July 2nd, I posted a report on Victor Souza, wide receiver from Brazil, who was at the St. Louis showcase. I didn't even post on the Instagram. I have to check my Instagram. I don't look at my Instagram DMs, if ever. The team names, by the way, I could care less what they are. The players, the coaches, structured leagues, what truly matters. Success is what I want to see. They could call them just XFL, then the respected cities, and that would be all right. Have a good week, everyone. Andrew checking in, dropping that knowledge. Nicholas checking in. Says, I can't wait until the XFL reveals the names of each of the teams, but I am curious of when each team uniforms will reveal also. I would assume all of it would come out. I'm also excited for the season, and I hope that they have someone like Reebok, Puma, Champion, or Adidas making their uniforms. I want something worth buying that will look good. Nicholas trying to impress the ladies with his XFL gear. I want it to look good, too. What about Under Armour? That's Maryland. That's a Maryland thing, my friend. All right, that is for the emails for this week. And our show, that wraps it up. This week, kind of a slow week. Remember, next week, give us your funniest XFL team names. I want to hear it. Remember, you can be part of the show by emailing podcast@XFL News Hub. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just look up XFL News Hub. Plus, Android app on Google Play, iPhone app on iTunes. Download that iPhone app, folks. You iPhone users out there, or are you guys just Google Play? Google app is doing great. iPhone app is slow. And I thought everybody was iPhone people. Everybody's like, oh, look at my iPhone. Leave us a review on iTunes, or we'll read it on the next show, of course. And you can listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher. So many places to listen to this show. It is no wonder we are just, fingers crossed, folks, that we'll get team names this week and we can talk about them next week. If not, we will have your funniest XFL team names for next week's show. That's it for me, folks. Thanks for listening. Mahalo to all my peeps out there. God bless y'all. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you all later.